Hello everybody, this is Dan. Hope you're enjoying your October. It's nearly Halloween, and to celebrate, we will be releasing 2 new episodes reviewing the latest 2 movies in the Halloween series, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and those are going to be coming out between now and Halloween night itself. But if you want to see our discussions ahead of time, then you can go to our Patreon page where the videos are already available. In the meantime, here is another release from the archives of our friends at the podcast, A Very British Horror. Chris and Paul are going to be talking about the rather good late period Hammer horror film, Hands of the Ripper. Enjoy.
What if one of you is the monster?
Monster? They're British, you know.
Hello, I'm Chris Denton.
And I'm Paul Monk.
And we are A Very British Horror. And it's over to you, Paul, to introduce this evening's film.
Why, thank you. It's we're going to be talking about the 1971 Hammer film, Hands of the Ripper, which, despite the title, is not a film about Michael Ripper having a manicure.
Michael Ripper's sadly not even in this film.
No, he isn't.
No. But I'm really excited about this, Paul. I'll tell you why. Because I mean, I'm jumping straight in, right? I was coming back to this after like 20 years. I watched it and I was like, I'm surprised. This is good. Why is this good? And right. So I know that I've got to my opinion very early, but I wanted to explain. What I didn't understand was why has it got a good script? No, like not like a John Elder, Henry Younger. Oh, this is just quite fun gothic action horror entertainment. But no, this has got like a proper script, and so I looked. I look. It's actually quite hard to work out the provenance of the idea for this. But I actually researched it. Now I know. Right. I reckon I know. So I want to jump straight in. Right. So this film was directed by Peter Sasdy. I don't know if that's how you say it. Hungarian director. I'm going to say Sasdy throughout. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of names probably, like you. Peter Sasdy.
That's how I would have pronounced it.
Yeah. And it was produced by Ada Young.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, crikey, I'm going to have to refer now back to it was written, and I haven't quite got to it, but it was written by actually a guy called Lewis Davidson, who seems to have been credited with various different derivations of that name. So I think he's like L.J. Davidson or something in this, but his real name's Lewis Davidson, and he was an American scriptwriter, but he worked on several of the ITC style shows, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Like so Danger Man and the Avengers, The Saint, things like that, right? Okay, and Hands of the Ripper was also based on an original idea or based on a story by someone called Edward Spencer Shue, and it's his only credit on IMDb. So the only thing he ever did was have this idea. So you immediately think, oh, it's another one of these pseudonyms. It's like Ada Young or something like that. She can't join in with the whole John Elder, Henry Younger thing because her name is actually Young. So she has to. but no, no, it's not that, right? So Edward Spencer Shue was a court reporter who wrote who wrote a very famous at the time true crime book called A Companion to Murder. I think that was published in about 1960, which was just like it's described as an A to Z of notorious killers and sensational trials. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So you're talking about a true crime expert has had this idea, and then it's been it's been written up as a screenplay by a competent writer. Okay, but how did this writer become involved? Well, go trawling IMDb and various other like easy, readily available internet information sites, Wikipedia. I discovered that the Danger Man episodes that the writer wrote, Davison wrote, were associate produced by A.D. Young. So I believe that it's my I've got no evidence for this, but because there probably is evidence, but I haven't found it. But it's my belief that this is a writer that she knew and trusted and brought on board for the film.
Right.
And here's another weird thing, right? If you look in the Danger Man credits for the Lewis David Everson episode I was looking at, the casting director was Harry Fine. And Harry Fine, of course, one half of the producing duo Fine and Style, who produced the Karnstein trilogy for Hammer, including Twins of Evil, which was paired up with Hands of the Ripper. It was one of those double bills that they used to do back in the day, and that was it. It was Hands of the Ripper and Twins of Evil, and it all seems to come back to Danger Man, which was this great early 60s precursor to The Prisoner, that starring Patrick McGoohan. And no, Peter Sasdy started with Hammer on the TV show Journey to the Unknown. Which Hammer didn't do a lot of TV shows, but this was their like late 60s one, and a few of their later directors started on it, and it was it was co-produced with a big American studio, which was so it was late 60s while Hammer was still doing that, and in America they chopped up they chopped up 8 of the episodes and they made 4 TV movies, and one of the episodes for the first of these TV movies, Journey into Darkness, was a Peter Sasdy one, and they got a presenter like Americans quite often do, like mystery theatre and armchair theatre and things. They got a presenter to introduce the episodes, and the presenter was Patrick McGoohan.
Wow.
All comes back to Danger Man.
It does.
Anyway, I was really excited because that's actual research, isn't it? That's not just.
That is. I mean, I think we should call it a day. It's done.
I'm tired now, Paul. I'm tired, but I just had to say. I had to say all of that. Anyway, shall we now resume normal service? And please give me a little break. Give me a break by telling me what Hands of the Ripper is about.
Okay, so basically, Hands of the Ripper opens in Whitechapel, in East End of London. There is a rather theatrical thing about it being, oh no, it's the Ripper, or something along those lines. And then it's Jack the Ripper, who is running away from sort of oddly out of place mob of people carrying flaming torches, which seems a little out of place.
I think we all remember that's how Jack the Ripper ended up. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, he basically runs back to his home, where his wife and daughter are there, and he sort of closes the curtains and everything, and his wife asks about, says, oh, they're after Jack the Ripper or something along those lines, and then she notices the blood on his hands, and then he turns around and in a fit of rage and murders his wife in full view of his daughter, who is kind of quite traumatized by it. And then we go into the sort of main part of the film.
Yeah, but importantly,
Have I missed a bit?
yeah, because the Ripper, he stops her from crying, doesn't he?
Oh,
So
yes, that's right. Yes. He stops her from crying afterwards by saying it's all right and giving her a little kiss on the cheek.
yeah, exactly. And one thing on that opening line, oh, it's the Ripper, governor. Because I watched this on the Blu-ray, and you know, sometimes the menus have little sequences from the film, and it's actually like the first 10 seconds, including that line, and I had to leave it on for a little bit before I could press play. So I heard him say that about 50 bloody times. It was, oh, governor, it's the Ripper, after him, or whatever it is.
I absolutely hate DVD and Blu-ray menus that do that. It drives me mad.
I know.
I remember the early days of DVD that would be listed as one of the special features.
Well, yeah, menu access? Yeah, you're right. It was. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, no, it's quite an interesting little sequence. In that I'm not aware that there were ever great big mobs of people chasing down who they thought was the Ripper. So I don't know that it has any kind of historical bearing, but
I think it probably doesn't. I think Spencer Shue's great knowledge of true crime wasn't utilised for this.
I mean, to be fair, the Ripper case is just like, I mean, it's one of those things that's never ever going to get solved, isn't it? Really, it's
well, indeed. And Hammer hadn't actually tackled it for a long time. I think that they did a film called Room to Let, which I really would like to watch, starring Valentine Dyal as the Ripper. But that was well before Curse of Frankenstein. And then in this year, 1971, they did it twice, didn't they? Because there's also like a Ripper theme in Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, where in that they throw in a few they throw in Burke and Hare as well, so I think Hammer had obviously stumbled across some fresh material here, and that opening sequence is not too bad. It's obviously it grabs you with having Jack the Ripper in it, and
I noticed that Jack the Ripper has lots of sores on his face, and I thought that was a sort of strange but interesting little kind of touch that really doesn't get that much attention. So
I'm going to go further then. I noticed that too, and you also don't really ever see him clearly, do you?
No.
So in fact, it's very, very deliberately sort of obscured. So you see an eye and a sore and stuff, but you never get like a shot of his face. You never really know what he looks like. And the exact same thing is in the film Sunshine. Like a sci-fi thriller from a lot later.
With Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle, yeah, starring Cillian Murphy. But the villain in that is played by Mark Strong, who is basically treated in a very similar way. So it's all like burnt and charred from being obsessed with the sun and being really close to it. But you never see his face ever. It's all obscured. It's all the same. So yeah, I think maybe Danny Boyle's a big fan of this film, or maybe he inadvertently used the same idea. You be the judge, Paul.
I don't think they're connected at all. I just think it's just a sort of it's just a trope, isn't it? Of that
I'm going to the Court of Appeal on that one.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The first thing I thought about the swords were they trying to say that they were like that were they trying to say that Jack the Ripper had herpes? That's what I thought.
Well, no, it might be syphilis.
Like cold sores or syphilis or something like that. Yeah.
Because I mean, syphilis would make more sense. There was a BBC version of Dracula, wasn't there, where they tried to make it all about syphilis.
Yeah.
but I think it's just a kind of my personal view, because I did think about this because it was strange, but I think it's like an outward representation of how diseased his mind is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
So anyway, I think then we get a title sequence. Is that
Yeah.
is it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think that was a pre-title sequence we had, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
if it wasn't, it should have been. And the title sequence doesn't have Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing's names in it, so yeah,
Right.
that's why probably this film is less well regarded, or maybe not less well regarded, but less often watched, less often thought of, because it's not got them. They're the big draw, aren't they? But but then the action switches to 15 years later, and you've got Dr. Pritchard, played by Eric Porter, and his son attending a séance, and there's this poor couple, and they're being exploited by the medium, and there's also another guy there who seems to be like very well to do, and so I think his name's Dysart. I think that's right.
Yeah, Dysart. That's right.
Yeah.
He turns out later to be a sort of some sort of minister or something.
Yeah, he's a member of parliament, isn't he?
Member of parliament or something.
Yeah. But what happens is Pritchard basically exposes the fraud, but subtly. So he doesn't expose it to everyone there. He doesn't upset the grieving couple, does he? But he finds this girl in a cupboard who's clearly been doing the funny voices that the medium has been talking to, and the girl's called Anna, played by an actress, and this is where I mispronounce things again. Angharad Reese.
Angharad.
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 Yeah.
Sorry. I mean,
Welsh.
Yes, I know. Welsh, and also a very famous actor.
Yeah.
I think this was an early role, but because I believe she was 23 when she did this. I think it might even be an introducing job, but yes, it's subsequently gone on to a very notable career. So, and sadly died, I believe. But after that very great career, this was the start of. Anyway, Pritchard goes, and there's I think there's a little interesting interaction between him and his son, because his son's waiting for his fiancée to appear. She's obviously been abroad, and he's really excited, and Pritchard isn't at all excited. In fact, he seems very unexcited about it, like he disapproves of the whole thing. But it's not actually that. I've got a whole theory about Pritchard, which I'll come to. But he sends his what's his son called? So
his son, I can't remember what his son's called. Because I tell you why.
Pritchard Jr.
I was really distracted by the fact that he was sporting an Edgar Allan Poe look.
His name's Michael. Yes, it's a
Go
kind
back
of.
And have a look. He's like he's cosplaying as Edgar Allan Poe.
Well,
and that's all I kept thinking of.
He's got the little but he's also got.
His hair is exactly the same as all the pictures of Edgar Allan Poe.
Do you know? I didn't notice that. I just thought it was 70s hair. But now you've said it, I know exactly what you mean.
Got the tash, everything. He's a spitting image of Edgar Allan Poe. Absolutely.
But Pritchard sends Michael off in a carriage, because Pritchard Senior's name's John. He sends and he's waiting for his carriage when there's so meanwhile, back in the psychic's house, Dysart has reappeared because he's not really interested in. Well, he is I think he is sort of interested in the the paranormal stuff. Actually, no, he actually genuinely is. But he's also
He's
interested
also interested
in Anna,
yeah.
because and it turns out Anna's an orphan, that she's been taken in by this fraud. But she's not just like a fraud, she's also a madam, isn't she, or a pimp?
Yeah.
Because essentially Dysart's paid money in order to spend some, quality intimate time with Anna.
And it crops up that part of that deal is that she's promised him a virgin, interestingly enough. So that again makes that even seedier. It's not because he's done it deliberately for that reason.
But he's bought her a shiny piece of jewelry as a gift, which kind of mesmerizes her. And but he just like freaked out. He just gets angry. He thinks he's being ripped off, and he's obviously some like hideous. Where he's got it's in the characters are more complicated than normal in this film. So he, I mean, what he's doing here is really awful, but then subsequently subsequently you see other sides of him. But anyway, he just gets upset, and I keep calling her the psychic. It's Mrs. Golding, played
Mrs. Golding,
by Dora Bryan. Yeah.
Who's a bit of a kind of bit of a British acting legend, isn't she, in a way?
Yes, the kind of British acting legend I'm not terribly interested in, if I'm brutally honest. But you're right. Yeah. She is. Yeah, absolutely. Her non-appearance in many of the films I like is the reason I'm a bit down on her. But no, she's fine in this. She's good in this, because actually she's right. Her downfall is not that she's a fraud, and it's not that she's a pimp. Her downfall is caused by a bit of human kindness, because she actually tries to protect Anna, because she obviously thinks that something non-consensual is going to happen, and she's not putting up with that, and she gives Dysart his money back, and then she kisses. She's trying to comfort Anna, thinking that she's upset, although she's more just in a trance. But she kisses her on the cheek, and of course that's the trigger for Anna to go psycho. So I don't think we actually see the first murder committed, but there are screams. Dysart runs out. Pritchard sees him, and then Pritchard goes up, and Dora Bryan's been impaled to the door, isn't she, by some skewer?
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was it's a poker or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what I thought was a bit weird about this scene is obviously Dysart then comes out, and Pritchard sort of is still outside faffing around. So he must have been out there for a little while, just sort of hanging about.
Yeah, the mechanics of it aren't great, are they? I mean, they do explain it, but yeah. So a boy's gone off to find him a carriage and obviously hasn't managed to.
Yeah.
So that's why he's still there. But he goes up. He like we said, and then the next scene is him at the police station, where he essentially clears Dysart after some tension, saying, "Oh no, it wasn't him. It wasn't him that I saw. It was someone else." And then he.
I have to point out there's for kind of like a schlocky kind of Hammer horror type film. There is actually, in that police station bit, that bit you're talking about, where he covers for Dysart, there's a bit where they actually they sort of stare at each other a bit, and it goes backwards and forwards. And I thought that was really well done and really well acted.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And I think when you say schlocky, I think you're characterizing what people's view of this film might be, not what this film actually is. Yeah. So then after Dysart is, he's super relieved to be cleared when he knows he didn't do it, but he knows he was in trouble. He knows that the scandal was going to put his career at risk. But then Pritchard goes down to the prison, and then he basically takes Anna on as a ward.
Yeah.
Just says like, you're coming to live with me. You're not going to stay, because all the other prison cell are like Victorian prostitutes, like massive. Well, they are exactly that. They're stereotypes of Victorian prostitutes.
Yeah.
So,
I thought this was quite interesting, because I thought at this point, this is clearly kind of heading into a kind of murderous Pygmalion territory, and it does sort of do that for a tiny bit longer, and then it kind of becomes something a little bit different. But for a minute, I was thinking, this is that exactly that sort of Pygmalion plot.
It really is. I was thinking of I'm not as cultured as you, Paul, so I was thinking My Fair Lady. But yes, you're absolutely right. So
you were just thinking they were going to end up bursting into song or something.
yeah, but that's what happens. He takes her home, doesn't he, and says, "I'll get her a fine dress. We're going to a ball or something," doesn't he? I mean, and the maid, the maid Dolly, I think her name's Dolly.
Yes, Dolly.
Yeah, who's really friendly and chatty and all no miss, and helping her to get her into a dress, which is so Pritchard gives Anna his late wife's room, and it's his late wife's dress, and I think he gives her some jewelry, which is his late wife's. So and that is kind of like, is it Pygmalion, or is it kind of like Pretty Woman? You know, is it kind of the whole thing? Like, what is his motivation? Because she's I'm more sort of like surprised that he's allowed to do it. I think in a way it's like, oh yeah, that 18-year-old girl, she can come and live with me as my ward. That's fine, isn't it, officer? Oh yes, of course, that's completely fine, sir.
He gets the impression though that because he's a sort of psychoanalyst, sort of psychiatrist doctor, isn't he?
Well, so I think if we get to that, because there's a conversation with Dysart, because Dysart's like, well, why did you bail me out? And then Pritchard's like, well, it was either you that did it or her that did it, and it's like, he knows it's her, and he wants to study her, right? Yeah. and I just think, well, that's insanely dangerous. He goes on about, people don't understand murderers, they just string them up, we should study them, and he wants Dysart to help by looking into her background, but I mean, it's insanely dangerous. Absolutely, totally, ridiculously, irresponsibly dangerous, right? Because he's taking this, he knows she's a killer, he just wants to find out why, and okay, you might care about himself, but you know, he's got his son, his future daughter-in-law living with them, because we meet the daughter-in-law. She's a blind girl called, is it Laura? But so and she's obviously painted very sort of like positive, like very sympathetic character, and obviously Michael's sympathetic as well. So they're the juvenile leads, and they're the nice ones, and Pritchard's put them massively in danger.
Incidentally, I didn't really get. I know you don't. There doesn't need to be a reason, but I didn't really get why that character was blind. What that kind of added to anything. So I was sort of thinking that as it went along, there would be some significance in that, and I'm not entirely sure that there is.
Well, I think that's good in a way. I don't think you should have a special reason.
But generally in films and things like that's sort of how something like that works, isn't it?
Well, you'll think yeah, it would be like a Hitchcockian thriller, and you'd use it as a
Yeah.
device to amplify the tension, but it isn't particularly done for that, which I think is a good creative decision. I think you know why not? I think but I do think it makes her. I don't know that she's got like a physical impairment.
Yeah.
I think it kind of like it invites audience sympathy in a way, which is helpful for the predicament she ends up in. So, but also, also because she's so positive and sympathetic, what could Pritchard possibly have against her? Why does he seem like reluctant and not at all keen?
Yeah.
And here is my theory to the whole
Okay.
reason Pritchard behaves like he does, right? I think obviously he's grieving after his wife's death, probably much earlier. It's probably a long-term thing, but also probably the one thing, his one kind of joy in the world, I suspect, is his son, and his son's going away. So
Right. Okay.
he's like Michael's marriage means that they're going away, and that he'll be alone in a house with and I think because of that, I think that's explains why he seems not particularly taken with Laura, but also it explains why he invites a serial killer into their home, because he's an intelligent man, like you say, a student of Freud. He I mean, and if he doesn't know how super dangerous she is, he finds out that night. because unfortunately, Dolly, who's becoming fast friends with Anna, kisses her on the cheek, and she goes Superman. Well, she goes into this trance and kills her. I forget how exactly she does it.
She smashes the hand mirror that she's got.
The mirror,
which rather sort of coincidentally just happens to be smashed in the shape of a knife with the shard of glass.
Yeah.
And then she stabs her with the shard of glass.
Yeah. And so then we get this Pygmalion / My Fair Lady scene at the ball. But Dr. Pritchard gets lucky. Not lucky. He doesn't get lucky. That's a pretty different film. He gets worried, and he comes back early, and he finds Anna in a trance and Dolly been murdered, and basically then he covers it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely, totally irresponsible thing to do.
but his character is still quite, I don't know, still quite likable and sympathetic almost, despite the fact that, he covers this murder up.
Like, because he's driven by a genuine passion to discover, to solve this mystery, but also he has no regard at all for his own personal safety. He's absolutely absolutely none. So because he's almost like you could say this driven for science thing is just like a version of Baron Frankenstein, but he's not. I mean, he's not like that. I mean, it's it is kind of medical curiosity, but it's I think it's an urge to investigate, to solve the mystery, to help. It's not like a sort of lust for the acclaim, being the person to reanimate a corpse, and apparently that makes that, like Baron Frankenstein thinks, would make him internationally renowned. But and and of course what we've got is a really sophisticated performance by Eric Porter. So Eric Porter was a TV star. So he was
Yeah.
the main character in the Foresight saga, which I don't think anyone has watched for years and years and years, but was very big in 1967, I think, around about there.
Can I tell you, like, briefly, like a weird. See, in the beginning, you had your Danger Man sort
Go
of
for it.
weird connection thing.
Yeah.
There's also another kind of odd connection with this, in that Eric Porter played Moriarty.
Yeah, indeed.
In the
indeed, Jeremy
Bratt Sherlock Holmes story, because he's in 2 stories.
Yeah.
And apparently the rather nice Victorian street set was the Baker Street set at Pinewood Studios, which was left over from the Private Life of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I read that too. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes.
Right? Yeah. And even better, Laura is played by an actress called Jane Merrow, who was in a lot of dodgy American TV in the 80s. But in the very next year, she appears in probably what is quite a crappy version of Hound of the Baskervilles. That was a American TV movie with Stuart Granger as Sherlock Holmes, and she plays Beryl Stapleton in that. So,
oh right, yeah, okay.
And William Shatner's also in that as well, I found out. So
well, that sounds brilliant. How can you say that? That sounds brilliant. Anyway.
It doesn't get good reviews, but yeah, William Shatner is George Stapleton in
it. I'm really desperate to see that.
Got to track it down now. So there you go. There's like a weird Sherlock Holmes connection to it.
Well, there's more than that, because Peter Sasdy directed an episode of apparently there's a strange like Anglo-Polish show, I think, made at the end of the 70s called Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, starring Jeffrey Whitehead as Holmes, I think. But Peter Sasdy directed an episode of that. But even more notably, at like the end of his career, he directed something called Sherlock Holmes and the Leading Lady, which which was like a 3-hour miniseries thing, one of 2, which starred Christopher Lee as Sherlock Holmes.
Of course. Is that the one? Is that the one with Patrick McNee as Watson?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes. So there's absolutely, the Sherlock Holmes connection is rife, isn't it? But with the casting of Eric Porter, so I assumed, like I think I always assume with a Hammer film that doesn't star Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing, that it was written for them and they turned it down or weren't available or whatever. But apparently that isn't true in this case. Apparently Peter Sasdy wanted Eric Porter and basically insisted, and that's why they got him. So it was not a case of Christopher Lee wouldn't do it.
I think it's a good choice, because I think he's actually very good.
He is really good, and I think this is also the second and final time Hammer used him as the lead actor, and the first was a very strange film called The Lost Continent, which I have seen years ago, but all I remember about it is it stars itself as like a
it's a
like a Doug McClure type film where
Land of Time Forgot.
Land of Time Forgot, something like that. But in actual fact, I think they spend 2/3 of the film on a bloody boat, and they only get to the Lost Continent of about the hour mark. So, and by that time, you're so bored. It's a really strange film, but and I don't remember anything good or bad about him in that. But this is a really subtle and quite sympathetic, nuanced performance, and a real change from the kind of performances you might expect in a Hammer film. Not that I'm saying that Lee and Cushing are bad because they're obviously brilliant, but it's
Yeah.
it's a different kind of role and it's a different kind of performance, and it's still really
Yeah.
good. It's for other reasons. Anyway, I'm talking about nuance and subtlety, but we do have a bit of a sequence of just grisly murders.
Yeah. And what got me about a lot of these murders is that they're far gorier than anything I seem to remember being in Hammer.
Yeah, but this is because
previously.
early 70s
Yeah, I think they're
Hammer
just
was
getting
pushing boundaries, and but there were cuts made to the US version for that reason, because
right.
like there's I can't even remember the order the murders are in, but there's kind of a lesbian prostitute played by Linda Barron who takes
Yep.
Anna in and shows her some affection with predictable results. Does she get like a load of knitting needles in her eye or something?
Yeah, in her eye. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Oh, that is pretty nasty.
and they do a bit where she's running through the street, and the same, seemingly the same mob from the pre-credit
I
bit,
think very likely
all hanging around waiting for someone to lynch. And she comes out with her hand over her eye with these knitting needles through her hand, and I look at it and think, yeah, obviously they're attached between her fingers and she's holding them in place. And then she moves her hand in the next shot, and you actually just see all of them stuck in her eye, which is really grim.
It is not, it is nasty, and it's a shame because I mean Linda
But Linda
Barron,
Brown is great, and she's brilliant in everything she does.
she really is, and I love her in Open All Hours. I really do.
And she just kind of that whole scene kind of lights up. It's kind of really
Mm.
I don't know. It's just because the overall kind of atmosphere of this film is quite sort of gloomy, and her sequence is quite sort of is kind of like a little bright light in the middle of all the gloom.
Yeah.
Interestingly, apparently her character in this is called Long Liz.
Yes.
Which was apparently one of the nicknames of the prostitutes killed by the actual Ripper.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely correct. I think that I'm not really sure why that was done. I guess to link it more to the Ripper murders, but it's.
I mean, maybe it's
a bit
just
of a grim thing to do. It's a real person, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe it was just a little nod to those.
Yeah.
The actual Ripper case. I mean, it doesn't make any actual sense for that to have been that actual character, because obviously, she would have been dead. But yeah.
Well, obviously, like 15 years previously. Yes. Yeah. So. And the next murder, or the previous one, this is where it gets a bit hazy, is another psychic, because Dysart says, I'll expose you unless you take her to this other psychic. And so this is the royal psychic, a bit more of a well-to-do one. And she's
actually good.
And she seems to be an actual psychic.
Yeah.
Because she's like, oh yeah, you're possessed by Jack the Ripper. But then she makes the fatal mistake of going, oh, you poor dear, I'll just kiss you on the cheek. and then Anna obviously immediately murders another person right in front of Pritchard, who just like looks out the door to see if anyone's coming and just leads her away. It's like, right, you're a bit of an accessory now, aren't you? Yeah. And this is where, like, because Dysart, who's been like really negative, like evil character, he's more like, I've got to do my civic duty, I've got to give you in, there's this murderer and you're harboring her. And it's just like, well, actually he's now saying he's doing the decent thing. It's like then you
mentioned it earlier, that's one of the good things about this film, is it's quite vague in a lot of
Well,
The characters that there's lots of shades of grey in
every
all of the
other
characters.
every other film like this, he would be nailed on, guaranteed to be a victim.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kept thinking, because again, like you, I hadn't seen this film for like 20 odd years, perhaps even longer. But yeah, I was sort of thinking, yeah, when's he going to get his comeuppance and be bumped off? And of course he doesn't, because he kind of he sort of has a better side to him,
Yeah,
in the same way that Pritchard has the kind of psychopathic side,
the
to
darker
him.
side. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and it is so nice to watch a film that looks like a Hammer film, feels like a Hammer film, but it's actually complicated. It's actually got three-dimensional characters. Yeah, it's such a relief.
Yeah.
But I'm not I love the other style of Hammer films, but it was getting very tired by the early 70s to do it that way. So it's nice to see something like this. And and then there's a whole thing where it's a contrivance. Anna's still in a trance, goes off with Michael and Laura to St Paul's Cathedral for some reason. They just want to see the cathedral. Do they want to go up see the Whispering Gallery or something?
Yeah.
Little real well, they don't realise. They think Anna's nice, but she is. But she's also like a psychopath. But indeed, because immediately she's in the trance because unfortunately Pritchard, still none the wiser as to why the murders happen, has felt really sorry for Anna and kissed her on the cheek. And of course, and Anna's just run him through with the sword or something, hasn't it?
Yeah.
but he manages, though really very badly injured. He goes off, gets Michael's at his club, says we've got to go.
He does that horrible thing where he removes the sword.
Yeah.
By hooking the handle of the sword over the handle of the door, and then pushing himself backwards off it.
That is really nasty, isn't it?
Which would, in all honesty, completely knacker him up even more. If that was, if you did that in reality.
Yeah. Very true. But he does manage to get to the base of St Paul's Cathedral, where essentially Anna is trying to throttle Laura up at the top. Michael runs up the steps, and we've already established there are lots of steps. And then Pritchard, who knows he's dying, tries to lure Anna to just jump off the balcony and kill herself as well, which she does. And then
did you think he was actually trying to do that, or did you think he was just trying to get her to come down?
Yes, I think he was trying to do that. I think he knows she's doomed, right? Because if she doesn't do that, she's going to get hanged.
Yeah.
And the way he beckons her, he's not pointing, come down the stairs, let's take me to a hospital. I think he's like, I think it's more of a kind of like, let's both die here together kind of thing. Okay. And that's so you said about the somber tone, because that's obviously, and she does jump off, and it ends her killing spree, and then basically Laura and Michael are okay. Laura doesn't die, but Pritchard's clearly expiring, and Anna has expired. The Fool's killed her.
There's some good dummy action on that I thought was actually reasonably well done.
Well, I tell you what, it's so well done that you look at it thinking, is this really St Paul's Cathedral? Were they allowed? Apparently they did ask, but were told no.
Yeah.
So it's actually like sets and photos. So
Yeah.
so it's like it's quite cleverly like chroma key or something. So it looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
But yeah. And that's essentially the end. And basically, Pritchard, though, it was the only way it was ever going to end.
Yeah.
But and he oh, I'm sorry. I don't know how to articulate this, right? So he does find out that the killings are triggered by the kiss on the cheek, but
Yeah.
he thinks it's the explanation that the second psychic gave him, which is that whenever that happens, she's possessed by the spirit of
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper. And he dies believing that that's the solution. But I'm not convinced. I think that the actual point of the film is not that. I think that it's not a supernatural thing. I think she's been hideously affected by the trauma in her childhood, and you know, I mean, she generally does hear the voice of her father and relive that moment, but I don't think it's his ghost possessing her. I think it's mental illness of an extreme kind. It's
Well, I wondered that as well, because I think actually it's really nice to have. I mean, yeah, she's had a really traumatic life, you know, and even with this, with the psychic woman at the beginning, she's you know being used by her for you know those means. So I don't think she's not. You don't get the impression she's doing that willingly necessarily, but or that she likes doing it. So she's generally had a horrible life and upbringing, and I think the film does a really good job of making that ambiguous.
absolutely.
And making you think, is she possessed, or is this a thing? And then I think it kind of blows it a little bit with the strangling scene in St Paul's Cathedral, because there's a bit where she definitely starts hearing the Ripper's voice, and then they do that weird bit where she sort of briefly turns into him, and you can either take that literally, or you can kind of it still is ambiguous, I suppose, but you can take it, but you can also take that literally and go, yeah, she was obviously possessed by him.
Yeah, I think
The possessing bit makes no sense given what actually happened, because he didn't you know, the Ripper didn't die in front of her. She saw something quite traumatic, and actually, the other thing that's really good about this film is it almost starts to say something about, I don't know, nature, nurture, mental illness, and that kind of thing, but don't know that it actually ever properly kind of gets to what it's trying to say. But there's something there, and it's trying, and that's more than most Hammer films do.
well, I think that's ultimately right.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate actually that this was the last Hammer movie directed by Sasdy, produced by Ada Young, starring Eric Porter. So it was like they were onto something good, and then this was it. I mean, I think people think of Twins of Evil as the more important film and the Double Bill, and you know, some ways I think they're right, and that's a good film. But I think I have a theory. I think Twins of Evil is quite regressive. I think it's kind of Hammer playing it safe in quite a few different ways, and probably going down by what was then a blind alley. Whereas I think Hands the Ripper is a much more early 70s contemporary good, like, and it's much more of a kind of a sustainable creative direction for them, and I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame they didn't go do more of that.
Yeah, I think so. I think almost like you could have had exactly the same sort of film, but have it set in sort of like the contemporary time. So and not have it set in the sort of Edwardian era, like where it's set. Yeah, and
I think that's
I think maybe that could have then gained a bit more sort of traction into becoming a thing. I think it's still. I mean, I like that whole kind of Victorian Edwardian trapping stuff, and I like all of that. But it's still kind of clinging on to the Gothic a little bit, and maybe it could have done better if it had been a more contemporary thriller. Because I think the problem with this is I think people will have gone to see this expecting one thing, and they probably get a little bit of the gore and stuff for the last 20 minutes where there's all the other murders. But the rest of the time, it's a little bit more thoughtful, and I can imagine people going to see it and be a bit disappointed and thinking, "What's this all about?"
maybe, and then maybe just watching Twins of Evil.
And then seeing Twins of Evil and going, "Yay!" Creepy Christian's being a bit of a bastard in it. Hooray! There's vampires. Hooray!
Yeah. And
Twins. Hooray!
but by the way, I should say, because just for completeness, that Peter Sasdy did in fact direct 3 episodes of Hammer House of Horror and 3 episodes of Hammer House of Mystery and Suspense. So
Yeah.
he did return to Hammer, but that obviously is a completely different thing, and certainly no continuation of anything started by Hands of the Ripper, or indeed his previous movie, Countess Dracula.
We should do an episode of Hammer House of Horror.
I think it would probably be The Silent Scream, wouldn't it?
It would be, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we will one day. I'm sure we will. Okay. I've got a end point to shock you with, Paul.
Okay.
Like really shock you, but I want it to be the end, because you'll be so speechless after it that you won't be able to say anything anyway. But
you're going to tell me you're possessed by the Ripper?
No, it's possibly even more devastating. But have you said everything you want to say before I get to this?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Watching this film made me want to rewatch Demons of the Mind. I know. But the thing is, it's been an equally long time since we watched Demons of the Mind.
That's true.
And I know, we both thought it was rubbish. I didn't really know what it was about. Maybe it's actually really clever and interesting, and we just weren't ready for that, because we were we just wanted Frankenstein must be destroyed again. So, mate,
I think I would be willing to give that another watch, because I think we probably last watched this film and Demons of the Mind probably at roughly the same time.
Yeah,
I'd imagine, wouldn't we?
Well, yeah, it would have been. It would have been like during our first wave of enthusiasm for Hammer movies.
We would have.
Which was early 90s, wasn't it? Or maybe slightly earlier even. So yeah,
late 80s.
Yeah,
early 90s. Yeah, that sort of end of secondary school.
I'm saying 20 years, but I mean 30 years. Anyway, let's not depress ourselves by.
So anyway, it's yeah. So we haven't watched. I think we probably watched them at the same time, and I would say that this film, I know that we probably both were a bit about this when we first watched it, and I liked it a lot more watching it again now.
Yeah, because the first time, I would have wanted Cushing or Lee, and I would have wanted Frankenstein or Dracula, and I didn't get anything from this. I didn't even get Jack the Bloody Ripper, really.
Not really.
but I don't remember disliking it, but I don't remember. I don't remember thinking much of it. But now it's one of my favourites.
I think it had got to that point where I was a bit. Yeah, we'd probably watched quite a lot of the Hammer films and other similar sort of things. And I think that perhaps I certainly, by the time I watched this, was a bit about them and thought, because they're obviously, a lot of them are obviously of a particular formula, that this was just, I think I was just a bit formulaed out, and this just was a bit boring and a bit.
Yeah, well, maybe, but I think that formula was the John Elder, Anthony Hines
Yeah,
formula, wasn't it?
exactly. Yeah.
which is his pastiche of the Jimmy Sangster scripts, really. So
Yeah.
just yeah, I think you're right. Anyway, I think we've made our points. I think if anyone has anything else to say on Hans and the Ripper, it's their turn. So how could they get in touch with us to do that?
Oh, very good. They can get in touch via Facebook, where we're a Very British Horror, if you search for that, or on Twitter, where we're at Very Brit Horror, or they can email us at averybritishhorror@gmail.com.
Yes, absolutely. But don't kiss us on the cheek, because you do not know what will happen. And on that bombshell, I've been Chris Denton.
And I'm still Paul Monk.
Good night.
Bye.